There was a sister in one of the branches that I served in who had a lot of a bad reputation in that area, and most of the people knew these stories about the sister didn't think that she would ever be ready to join the church and live the gospel. And continuously I felt prompted with my companion that she needed to be taught. And it was the most opposition I have ever received in my life, honestly. We had, men in the church with their callings who were contacting us saying, you got to drop her. You can't. Have you heard of all these things? And so we were hearing so much negative stuff about this girl, but we still felt spiritually prompted that she was ready and that the Lord loved her and that this was what she needed. So we pushed through that, kind of stuck to our guns. Luckily, our branch president was on our side, and we could kind of work through that. And so the day of her baptism, I remember our ward mission leader ran and was just like, we can't do this. We got to stop. And I just broke down crying, like, I'm trying my best. I feel like this is what needs to be done. And we called our branch president. He was actually out of town, but he's like, no, we're going through with this. And the first counselor was like, yeah, we're going through with this. So as I watched this girl enter into the water, I felt so much love. I felt Heavenly Father's love more than I think I had for someone else ever. And it was just witness to me that is exactly what needed to happen, that she truly was ready. She was repentant and ready to live the gospel as well as she could, and that I had done my job as a servant of God. And she was confirmed. She's since gone to the temple. She's been married. She just lived in the gospel. And I think everyone maybe was a little wrong. And it was just a lesson that needed to be learned in that branch, and for me and for her, and just definitely one of the sweetest experiences of my mission. So after my first 3 months, after I was done training, I was asked to train, and I got this cute Sister Pratt, and we got her from Iowa City, drove back to Keokuk, Iowa, which is just across the river from my first area, and we just went to work. I was trying to figure out how to be a trainer, and just like, I'm just gonna have her do everything. So we went and we're knocking on doors, and I was gonna just have her say the first line every time. She did really well, and inside I was still a new missionary, so I was just like, yeah, you're doing good, keep going. Still nervous myself. And I remember maybe it was the first week, we had gone on a walk with our branch president and his wife. We actually lived with them, so he kind of wanted to introduce us to the area. So we were walking, and we met this man who was on the side of the street just playing with his dog. His name was Mike Inman, and nothing really came about it from there, but he lived just like a block away from us, and we had a good feeling about him and knew that maybe we should talk to him in the future. So it had been maybe a few weeks, a month later, and we were walking down our street, and there was an ambulance outside helping this woman. I can't even remember what happened, but there was an ambulance and all the neighbors were outside, and we see Mike again with his dog. And so me and Sister Pratt go in and talk to him, just trying to figure out what the situation was. And I remember just so strongly this prompting came over me, just asking if he wants to know more about the church. And it was not about what we were talking about, but the words kind of came out. It's just like, Mike, do you want to know more about our church? And he just smiled and said yes. And it was as simple as that. And so we set up a return appointment, and we went with our branch president and his wife because they wanted to be the fellowshippers, and we obviously wanted them to be as well. They lived so close. The first lesson was really good, and He came from a Roman Catholic background, and he didn't think he was going to convert. He's just like, yeah, I'll read the Book of Mormon, and I'll start praying. I don't think you'll convert me, but I'll give it a try. And that's all we could ask for, was just that his heart was open and that he would try. So the next couple of weeks, he was just steady. He read the Book of Mormon and he had questions, and he prayed about it. And it was so cool to see, for the first time in my life, the power of the Book of Mormon in someone else, because I just saw that his whole countenance change, and just everything. It was really awesome. And I remember we had set a baptismal date for him, and we were really excited, and just some things kind of were falling through. And our branch president came over one day and just sat down, and we were trying to be not pushy, but just let him go in his time. Our branch president just said, Mike, I think you should be baptized tomorrow. And we were having a baptismal service, and he just like, okay, I can do it. So we made sure we got the baptismal interview done the next morning. He was clear, and he was baptized that afternoon. And it was the coolest thing. Very rewarding experience. I hadn't had much success in my first area. It was really hard, and so this was just perfect. I finally felt like I was doing good. Shortly after that, he received the priesthood, and he has been going to the temple. It's just I love him, and it was a really rewarding point of my mission.